Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me to discuss how the U.S. can implement cannabis legalization to maximize revenue lost from COVID-19 and correct systemic racial injustice is Howard Lee, CEO of SoRSE. Howard, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for your time.
What are the benefits of legalization based on your experience working with legal markets in California, Illinois, and Washington State?
So the benefits, well, let's talk about the overall government benefits. Washington State generated $395 million in tax revenue just from cannabis sales in Washington State alone. I think California generated 300 million, Oregon's just over 100 million or so. So it's an enormous amount of tax revenue for essentially taking a black market and making it a legal market. So for the public good, it's just an amazing amount of tax revenue. Second, I think there's just a flurry of great economic activity to legalize the employment of cannabis today, and so there's nothing but positives to making cannabis legal today.
So clearly legalization, the cases are there. You can create tax revenue. It certainly creates jobs. But it's interesting. You believe that using cannabis legalization can correct systemic racial injustice and support minority-owned businesses. Tell us more about that.
Sure. So the problems right now is incarcerations for the use or the possession of cannabis is really heavily skewed toward the minorities or the people who are incarcerated. The social justice side of it is we can eliminate all of that social injustice by legalizing cannabis. And so there shouldn't be people in jail for possessing an ounce of cannabis today. In Texas, if you had an ounce of cannabis on you and you were found by a police officer, they can arrest you, and it's a mandatory 6 months in jail in Texas alone today.
Yeah, there are certain states that probably won't be as open to the legalization process. So let's talk about that. What are the necessary steps to take to plan for legalization and get governments on board?
So I think the first step is just getting everyone to agree that it's a good thing to rectify the social injustice issue, to generate great tax revenue, and to create jobs. And I think everyone would agree to that today. I think obviously the Black Lives Matter movement and everything is leaning toward that. And the second thing that needs to be done is you need to close down the black market, and it's very difficult. Washington State did it, and it did cause enormous heartache for some people, but that's part of the process. You have to clean the black market as well, and then you have to legislate and provide licenses to and create a licensing process that makes it easy for minorities and other people to get licenses to sell cannabis if they choose to. Part of that is not to let verticalization take into account. So many states like Florida and I think Michigan provide for and allow for verticalization, which means that you grow, process, and sell the cannabis directly. And that doesn't help minorities at all. The cost of capital of doing that and the time to market is very difficult. So you don't want verticalization. You want to let people come into the cannabis market where they think they can add the greatest amount of value, whether it's as a grower, whether it's a manufacturer and processor, or as a retailer.
Well, of course, consumers are going to be concerned about safety. How important is the quality in all THC products so the government can ensure safety?
That's right. And so I obviously missed that when we talked about regulations. But when you create a legal market, you need to provide for testing. You need to provide for solutions that allow consumers to understand that they're getting a safer product. The black market, obviously, no one knows what pesticides are used to grow that weed or cannabis. No one knows how products are manufactured in a black market. In a legal market, obviously, you know that the cannabis should be tested and is created under normal manufacturing processes today, safe processes. Yep.
And Howard, where does SoRSE fit in this ecosystem?
Yeah, so what we do is we make cannabis use safer by providing a water-soluble emulsion that allows for near perfect dosing, allows for easy ingestion, allows for better onset and easier manufacturing. And when you do all those four things, we sit in the manufacturing processing side of the business. So we help create great cannabis products. We power the number 1, 2, and 5 drinks in Washington State today, and soon to be in California.
Okay, Howard, thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you. Thanks, Jill.
You got it. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.